And in this segment, it's all about metrology. Mr. I-Ronn Audain, head of the Metrology Department, is joining us for this interview all about World Metrology Day, celebrated tomorrow, May 20th. Mr. Audain, thank you for joining us on Good Morning SKN.
Yes, welcome back.
Good morning. Thanks for having me here again.
Awesome. But first, let's dive into it. What is metrology?
Well, metrology is the science of measurement. It is sometimes confused with meteorology, which has to do with weather.
Okay.
I remember the first time that I got into metrology, I actually thought that I had to get an umbrella and a proper raincoat.
So did I.
So I realized that it more had to do with taking measurements and making sure measurements are accurate and precise.
Okay. Well, tomorrow the day will be celebrated. Can you give us a brief background about World Metrology Day?
Okay, so as you know, since the beginning of time, men have always asked questions: how hot, how cold, how high, how low, how heavy something is. So what we have done over the time is that we have started studying measurements.
Okay.
And what happened is that in the past time, they decided to develop the science of studying how measurement impacts society. And that's the way that metrology came about. And in 1875, several countries came together and said, hey, we're going to adopt the meter as our main unit of a measurement. We're going to adopt the metric system throughout the whole gamut when you're speaking about measurements. So they came together and they signed it on May the 20th. And from then, each year, there's always been a celebration of that signing of the meter convention.
Okay, good stuff.
Interesting. What is the theme for this year's metrology celebration?
The theme for this year is measurement supporting the global food system.
Okay. And why is this theme important in today's world?
Well, last year we had a record 8 billion people now living on the face of the earth.
Oh wow!
So with that, there's a lot of challenges as it relates to the food system. As you know, there have been shortages. You go to the supermarket, sometimes you can't find stuff.
Yes.
Because of the supply chain, problem in the supply chain. Yeah, and so they thought it's timely that they have the relationship between measurements and the impact that measurements have on the food system be brought to the forefront. And there's also an impact as climate change would have on the whole process as well.
Okay. Let's talk about how this theme falls in lines with what our Metrology Lab here on stkitts does.
Okay. So the things in the Bureau standards, we do verification on scales. And this verification, as you know, you go to the supermarket, you want to make sure that when you buy a pound of potato, you're actually getting a pound of potato. So we have a robust program where we go out and make sure that all the supermarkets, I can say with confidence, about 90% of all the scales that deals with food in stkittsnevis have been verified by the stkitts Bureau standards.
Can I ask if it goes for the persons that sell on the agri strip as well as in the markets as well? Are those scales?
Well, that's why I said 90%.
So that's
that's the other percentage that we have to bring into the program.
And I can share the same sentiments because outside of working here in studio, I'm actually a chef. And when produce come to our restaurant, sometimes it's important for us to have our own scale because when the supplier come to our restaurant with their scale, their measurement sometimes differ than when we actually weigh ourselves. So it is important to, metrology is.
So I have to put your scale on our list.
Yes.
So how you talk about implementation for the 10%, how soon will that implementation happen?
Well, we try to use a carrot rather than the big stick. Although we have recent.
Oh my gosh, go ahead. Sorry, it's just funny how you compared the two.
So we're gonna shortly before the end of the year we're gonna be engaged in the agro person that sell agro products and at the side of the world and in the market and enlighten them as to what they have to do to be compliant with the metrology regulations.
Okay.
So Mr. Audain, there are different types of metrology. What are the different types out there?
There are three main types of metrology. You have the scientific, the industrial, and the legal metrology.
Okay, and you could elaborate on
for the novice.
Okay, so the scientific metrology, that's where you do the research and development of the metrology, of the measurements that you need.
Okay.
So, for example, you'll find that in development of computers, for example, they have to take measurements to develop the chips.
Yeah.
So they might say, well, listen, we want to have a chip that is 10 times faster than the current chip that we're using. And scientists will then go and develop somewhere that they could do a measurement to make sure that they could get that level of accuracy when it comes to the chip design. So then they take this chip, the chip then goes to the industry. So then they take this measurement, and then the measurement then goes to the industry. And the industry would then now say, all right, we're going to use this device, which this device are these artifacts to ensure that our instruments are calibrated when we do the production. And then when the product itself reach on the market, then the legal side of metrology would come in to make sure that what they're actually saying on the label is actually right weight and so forth.
Okay.
I see.
Which one of those types of metrology do we practice here in stkitts?
Well, as of recent, we practice all three.
All three. Good stuff.
Yeah, so we have a mass lab that now gives us the ability to disseminate the mass measurement.
Okay.
And you speak earlier about the Metrology Lab here in stkitts. What service does the Metrology Lab provide for us here in stkitts?
Okay, so as I mentioned before, what it does is mass measurement or weight measurement. So someone with a weight can bring the weight, and we could compare their weight against our reference weights, and then tell them what the difference is, give them a certificate of calibration, and I'll be able to tell them within a very high level of accuracy how much the actual weight is. And as you know, you then use the weights to measure to verify your scale off, or when you're selling the goods or whatever.
Have you ever heard the story, Mr. Audain, about not buying wet potatoes?
No.
You know those things weigh more than the dry potatoes?
When it's wet.
I would imagine, because it have the water on it.
Yeah. I learned that, and I'm like, oh, so if I buy wet potatoes, I'm actually paying for more water than anything. Yes. Yeah, once they come out of the bag wet, avoid them. Get the dry ones, because then they weigh much more than the dry ones. So other than us, the consumers that benefit from the services that the Metrology Lab provide, who else benefits and how?
Well, as I mentioned, we also do industrial. So we provide services to the manufacturing sector, such as caribouries and the other light industries that we have.
Okay. So not only us benefits.
Mr. Audain, on the 26th of September last year, there was some form of upgrade to the Metrology Lab here in stkitts. Can you share with us the experience?
Okay. Well, it was a two-year project.
Okay.
And what we did was that we got a grant from FOSQ and CDB.
Okay.
And that grant was a very big grant, I should say.
Okay.
And we also got some input from the government.
Okay.
So the government provided some funding for us to do some renovation. So what it allowed us to do is to have a lab with a higher level of accuracy. It allows us to be able to now take part in more international studies, and so when it comes to mass. One of the upgrades we had is that we actually had to separate the flow because there was the vibration from a car passing on the road will actually interfere with the stability of the equipment.
Wow.
So we had to actually separate that. And we also had some technical training. We had persons from Germany, council from Germany gave us training. We also had someone from Mexico come and give us training. And we also had in-house training where I did some training of the staff myself as well.
Fascinating.
So how would these upgrades help current and future clients?
In terms of current clients, again, they can have the confidence of knowing that we can do more, and they won't have to ship their weights overseas. The cost of transport alone sometimes just be more than the actual value of the weights. Transport them to get them calibrated.
Okay. And Mr. Audain, for someone who's living in the Federation, stkittsnevis, and they want to get involved in metrology, how can one do so?
Okay. Well, if they want to get involved in metrology, they can contact the Bureau of Standards. They can also go online. There's several websites like the OML website, the OSCE website as well that have links to where you can get metrology training and so forth.
Okay.
Do you see, I know everybody, there's a varying in terms of careers. Do you see an influx happening at the Metrology Department, or that's something that is not known and persons are not interested in becoming metrologists?
Okay. Well, metrology is a STEM career. So, for example, I am a chemical engineer.
Okay.
So most of the persons that involved in metrology either have that engineering background or they have mathematics or some sort of science background. In St. Kitts, the field itself is newly developed. Okay. But I could say for throughout the world and throughout the other Caribbean islands and so, there is a significant increase in the amount of persons going into metrology. And we're hoping to attract more persons into the field of metrology.
So how did you get involved in metrology, by the way? And then I will follow up with the other question I have for you.
Okay, well, I was originally hired as a chemist.
Okay.
Right, and then, as I said, my boss said, we have this area called metrology, and he wanted me to get involved in it.
Okay.
So like I said, I thought it was meteorology, so I said I gotta get away and so forth. And then he had to explain to me, well, no, it's the science of measurement, this is what we do, and we want to expand upon this area.
Okay.
So then that's all, and that would have been 14 years ago.
And you don't regret changing, staying on the same path, but changing, a bit.
No, I absolutely have no regret because it's a much wider field. Okay. There's actually a field called chemical metrology where you look at the amount of chemicals in certain substances and the accuracies in which you're able to measure them. Wow. So through that, we also originally there was a development of a ROM matrix because there was an argument between the Caribbean and other countries that do rum, what they call rum. So in order to clarify what was rum, that the rum had to be based off of molasses. Some people say take potatoes or they take beets, molasses. So there was that classification. So in order to do the testing now, they had to come up with a matrix that would allow them to isolate certain elements within the rum to do the testing. So that's something that was very interesting, and then that itself has to be repeatability and so forth.
Okay. So, at their career fair, when they have career fairs, do you go out and encourage young people in the field?
Well, we haven't really had a career fair since COVID. Okay. Before COVID, but I think there was one in Sandy Point, and there was representation from the Metrology Department.
Okay, I'm just trying to get people to go into different careers because everybody's just sticking to 3 careers these days.
Doctor,
lawyer, accountant. Yeah, you realize that, right? Yeah. We're not branching out, and we are needed in these various careers to ensure that the work continues to go around. And especially in St. Kitts, we need to fill the spots that are available. Oh.
But I think it starts with the schools as well, because that is what a lot of the interest is more towards the business subjects. And if you do science, it's either become a doctor. And if you read well, you want to be a lawyer.
A lawyer.
So there's no variation in terms of somebody may not be good at English, but they're good math students.
Yes.
That's an engineer. Most of the engineers that I've met, if you speak with them, they'll tell you there was no good English student in school, but
excellent at maths.
Excellent at maths.
Wow.
Right.
So you find that the focus on the school from the school level is too much towards these generic fields, and they need to be able to provide a broadening of the scope when it comes to the curriculum.
Exactly.
So awesome. And Mr. Audain, as we wrap this segment, is there anything else that you want to share to the people of stkittsnevis about metrology?
Metrology it happens in your everyday life, and people if you just take time out, you realize that every single aspect of your life you're measuring. You wake up in the morning, you're measuring the time. You turn on the water, take a shower, the water running through the house, the meter is running. That's a measurement. Electricity, if you're using hot water, you turn on the lights, that's power, that's measurement. You're using soap, toothpaste, chemicals in that has to be measured to make sure that it's safe for you.
So everything is concerned with metrology.
Clothes you put on, everything.
Wow, measurement
Even
again.
the quality of air that you breathe as well.
Wow.
So everything has to do with measurements.